Right. So you guys have sent in some really interesting articles and reports, and it seems like there's this kind of like growing waves of discussion about what they're calling embedded AI in insurance.
Yeah.
And a lot of the chatter seems to be pointing towards London Insurance Week next July as some kind of like turning point or some big moment for this whole thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So what we're going to do today is kind of take a deep dive into this whole embedded AI thing, try to understand exactly what it actually means for insurance. Like what's the real impact going to be, and why everyone's saying LIW 2025 is going to be so crucial for it to really take off globally.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, it's really fascinating stuff. We've
Yeah.
already seen, artificial intelligence being used in insurance for a while now.
Right.
Things like chatbots,
Yeah,
or using data analysis in the background to help with things.
Right, behind the scenes kind of stuff.
Exactly. But what these articles and reports are really highlighting is that this is actually much bigger. It's not just about adding AI on top of what we already do.
Okay.
It's about a much more fundamental shift.
Okay.
It's about AI actually becoming like a core part of how insurance works,
Like baked into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Embedded AI.
Okay.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit then.
Sure.
This idea of embedded AI.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like when we're talking about, the day-to-day reality of insurance?
Okay, so think of it this way.
Okay.
Right now you have, a human professional, let's say an underwriter,
Right.
and they might use an AI tool to, to help them do something.
Right. Use it as part of their work.
Right, as kind of like a separate thing.
Yeah.
With embedded AI, it's different. Like,
Okay.
the AI is basically part of the process itself from the very beginning.
Wow.
So it's not a tool that you pick up and use. It's more like
It's just there all the time.
it's just there, woven into the fabric of how that task is done.
Interesting.
It's a continuous real-time engine.
Yeah.
Constantly analyzing information, interpreting it, making decisions, and even taking actions all within the existing insurance operations.
So it's not just about like crunching data in batches.
No. Okay.
It's a constant flow.
So I think that's a really important distinction
Yeah.
to make, right? Because, we've all heard about AI being used to, analyze data and things like that.
Sure.
But this is different. This is like the AI is part of the process itself.
Right. It's not just a tool. It's the way it's done.
Yeah. So can you give us a concrete example of what this would actually look like in practice?
Definitely. So let's imagine a business that's looking for insurance coverage.
Okay. A company wants to get insured.
Yeah. They'll provide, their basic information as usual,
Like what kind of business are they? What do they do? Where are they located? That kind of thing.
Right, exactly, the foundational stuff. But with embedded AI, the system immediately starts pulling in and processing tons of other relevant data
Yeah.
automatically.
All by itself, So we're talking about things like property records, satellite imagery of their facilities, assessments of, how vulnerable their supply chain is, indicators of their financial stability, even up to the minute weather forecasts for where they operate.
Wow, that's a lot of information to be processing all at once.
It is. It's a huge amount of data. And the important thing is that the AI isn't just dumping all this raw data on the underwriter's desk.
Right. It's not just saying, here's everything, go figure it out.
Exactly. It's actively analyzing all of it in real time.
Okay.
And using it to generate a very precise and dynamically adjusted insurance quote.
So it's actually setting the price
Yeah.
based on all that information.
Yes. And it can also automatically recommend specific coverage options that make sense based on the risk profile that it's creating.
So it's tailoring the insurance to that specific business.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
And the whole process, which could traditionally take days or even weeks to go back and forth, gathering information, assessing risk, going through all that.
The back and forth, the paperwork,
All that could potentially be done in seconds or minutes.
So we're talking about a massive increase in speed and efficiency.
Absolutely.
So in this scenario then, what happens to the underwriter? The human underwriter.
That's a great question. And it's something a lot of people are thinking about.
Right. Like, are they out of a job?
And the answer is no, not at all.
Okay.
The underwriter's role changes significantly, though.
Okay.
They move away from, the manual data collection and number crunching.
Right.
And they become more like strategic thinkers.
Okay.
So they're validating the AI's assessments. They're looking for the exceptions, the cases where human judgment is still really needed.
Right. The edge cases, the things that the AI can't quite figure out.
Exactly. And they're using their expertise to handle the more complex decision-making.
So it's really more of an evolution of the role.
Right. It's about moving up the value chain.
Okay. So we've talked about underwriting.
Mhm.
What about claims How does embedded AI change how claims are handled?
Claims is another area where we're going to see massive change.
Okay.
So imagine a policyholder. Let's say they get into a minor car accident.
Okay. Fender bender, something like that.
Right. They can just snap a photo of the damage with their phone, through their insurer's app.
Right. Upload it right there on the spot.
Exactly. And the embedded AI gets to work right away.
Okay.
Uses image recognition to assess the damage.
So it can actually look at the picture and figure out what's wrong with the car.
Yeah, pretty much. It checks that against the policy details, verifies the time and location of the accident.
Okay.
And even runs fraud detection checks by comparing this claim to, massive amounts of historical data and industry patterns.
Wow. So it's really doing a thorough investigation.
It's real time.
And all that happens just from uploading a picture.
That's the idea.
So what's the outcome of all that?
Well, for a lot of these straightforward claims.
Okay. The simple ones.
Yeah, the AI can actually approve the claim and even start the payment process automatically.
Well, automatic, so you don't even have to talk to a human.
Potentially, yeah. And all of this could happen, in the time it takes the policyholder to even finish reporting the claim through the app.
That's incredibly like you submit the claim and by the time you're done, boom, you've got the money.
That's the goal. It's about making the whole process incredibly fast and smooth.
That sounds almost like science fiction.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And this is the kind of thing that embedded AI can enable.
So what about the more complicated claims, the ones that aren't so clear-cut?
Well, even with those more complex claims, embedded AI can still make things much better.
Okay.
It can instantly route the claim to the right human adjuster.
So it's still going to need a human at some point.
For those tricky situations, yeah. But the key difference is that it also provides that adjuster with a package of all the relevant data and initial assessments that it's already done.
So the adjuster's not starting from scratch.
Exactly. They have a huge head start, which means the whole process can move much faster and they can reach a resolution more efficiently.
So we're seeing these huge improvements in both speed and efficiency in both underwriting and claims.
Right. It's about streamlining those core processes.
You mentioned policy management earlier, too.
Yes.
How does embedded AI impact that part of the insurance world?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because with embedded AI, insurance can become truly proactive and responsive.
Okay, so not just reacting to things after they happen.
Exactly. So the AI can constantly be monitoring all sorts of data streams that are relevant to a policyholder's risk profile.
Like what kind of data are we talking about?
Well, for example, let's say you have a manufacturing facility.
Okay.
The AI could be looking at data from IoT sensors.
IoT, Internet of Things.
Right. Those sensors could be indicating, a higher risk of equipment malfunction or fire.
So it's like early warning signs.
Exactly. And for a business, it could be tracking changes to local regulations that might affect their operations.
Okay.
Or for a homeowner, it could be severe weather alerts for their area.
So it's really tailored to the specific policyholder and their situation.
That's the beauty of it. It can be highly personalized.
And what happens when the AI picks up on something important? Like a significant change in risk.
That's when it can trigger automatic responses.
Okay.
So this could be sending alerts to the policyholder with recommendations for preventive measures.
So like, hey, there's a storm coming, make sure you secure your property.
Exactly. Or it could even adjust the coverage or premiums dynamically.
Automatically.
Within the bounds of regulations, of course.
Right.
But the point is that the insurance is adapting to the changing risk environment in real time.
So it's not just a static contract anymore.
No, it becomes more like a living document.
That's a really cool concept.
Yeah, it's about making insurance much more agile and responsive.
So we've talked about all this potential, all these amazing ways that embedded AI could change things.
Yeah.
Why is London Insurance Week in 2025 being touted as like this critical turning point?
Well, LIW 2025 is shaping up to be crucial because it's bringing together all the necessary pieces for embedded AI to really take off globally.
Right.
London is this major international insurance hub.
Right.
So it's the perfect place to host this kind of event. And it's really designed to be the main platform for showcasing and accelerating the adoption of this technology.
So it's not just a conference, it's like a launch pad.
Yeah, exactly. It's about moving from talk to action.
So what can people expect to see if they go to LIW 2025?
Well, first of all, the focus of the expo floor is going to be on showing truly integrated solutions.
Okay.
So you're not just going to see companies offering AI algorithms. It's
Right.
going to be about demonstrations of entire operational systems
Okay.
where AI is built into the whole insurance workflow.
So end-to-end solutions.
Exactly. And the key message is going to be about seamless integration. how these different pieces work together,
Okay, so it's not just theory. It's actually showing how it works in practice.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you can bet there will be live demos of real-time underwriting and instant claims settlement.
Wow, so people can actually see it happening.
Yeah, they're setting the new standard for the industry.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and secondly, LIW is really designed to get buy-in from the top executives.
Okay, so we're talking CEOs, COOs, CTOs.
Right, because implementing embedded AI often requires, pretty big investments.
Right, it's not just flipping a switch.
And it means rethinking how you do things.
Right.
So this event is a chance for the tech innovators to really connect with those decision makers and show them the concrete benefits and the return on investment.
Right, because they need to be convinced that this is worth doing.
Absolutely, and the potential is huge. We're talking about major efficiency, gains better customer experiences, reduced operational risks.
Right.
And even the ability to create entirely new kinds of insurance products and services.
So they're really painting a picture of the future of insurance.
That's right. It's a compelling vision.
Okay, so it's about showcasing the tech and convincing the leaders.
Yeah.
What else is happening at LIW?
Well, thirdly, it's also going to be a hub for communicating the value of embedded AI across the whole insurance ecosystem.
Okay, so not just the big companies, but everyone involved.
Right. So insurance brokers will see how instant, quote, generation and more efficient processes can really change how they work.
Right.
Reinsurers will learn how they can use the faster, more data-rich insights from the primary insurers to improve their own risk assessments.
Okay.
The goal is to get everyone on board, to create this shared understanding and excitement about the possibilities of embedded AI.
Okay, so it's about spreading the word and building momentum.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about the actual implementation?
Well, that's the fourth key element of LIW.
Okay.
It's about facilitating the partnerships that are needed to make it happen.
Okay.
Because insurers, they don't usually have all the expertise in-house to do all this themselves.
Right, they're going to need help.
Right, so it requires collaboration between the tech companies, the data providers, the platform vendors, and the insurers themselves.
So LIW is like the matchmaking event.
Yeah, exactly. It's about bringing all the players together and helping them form those crucial partnerships.
Okay, so it's not just about the hype. It's about actually getting things done.
That's right. It's about taking concrete steps towards implementation.
So beyond all the excitement and the potential,
Yeah.
are they also addressing the practical challenges, the potential downsides of implementing something like embedded AI?
Absolutely. I mean, the information you've shared indicates that there will be dedicated sessions at LIW specifically focused on the practical aspects of adopting this technology.
Okay.
So they'll be talking about things like data governance, making sure the AI's decisions are transparent and explainable.
Right, so we're not just trusting a black box.
Exactly, navigating the evolving regulatory landscape.
Right, because there are definitely going to be new rules and regulations.
And managing the organizational changes that are going to be needed.
Right, because this is going to affect how everyone works.
Absolutely. So they're not shying away from the difficult questions.
That's good to hear, because those are all really critical things to consider.
Yeah, you can't just throw AI into the mix without thinking about these things carefully.
So what's the big picture here? What's the ultimate promise of all this?
Well, the sources you've shared point towards this idea of an era of instinctive insurance.
Instinctive insurance?
Yeah, it's about moving away from this reactive, cumbersome way of doing insurance.
Okay.
And towards a system that's much more intuitive, responsive, and almost invisible in how it manages risk and provides security.
So insurance that just works without you even having to think about it.
That's the idea. It's pretty compelling.
That's a really powerful way to put it. But the sources also acknowledge that there are some pretty big hurdles to overcome, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the challenges are definitely real.
Yeah.
Things like data privacy, the potential for bias in algorithms, the changing roles of human professionals in the industry.
Yeah, what happens to all the people who used to do those jobs?
And the sheer complexity of integrating these systems,
It's a massive undertaking.
It is. And the fact that they're explicitly addressing these challenges at LIW 2025 is a good sign that the industry is taking them seriously.
Right. It's not just about the hype. It's about being realistic. It feels like we're at this really pivotal moment.
Yeah.
All these different factors are converging.
Right.
We have these increasingly sophisticated AI technologies.
Right.
The cloud computing infrastructure is there.
Yep.
We have access to tons of data, and the insurance industry is under pressure to change.
To adapt to the digital world.
So it feels like this is the moment when it all comes together.
And London Insurance Week 2025 seems like it's going to be the focal point for that.
Yeah, the place where the insurance industry really steps into this future powered by embedded AI.
That's right. A future where insurance doesn't just calculate risk.
Right.
It understands it and responds to it instinctively.
So to sum up what we've talked about today, all this material that you guys have sent in really points towards this big transformation happening in insurance with this move towards embedded AI.
Yeah, it's a fundamental shift.
It means that AI is becoming a core part of how insurance operates.
Yeah, baked into the fabric of it.
And that enables real-time decision-making and a much more proactive approach to managing risk.
Absolutely.
And London Insurance Week in July is shaping up to be this crucial event.
Yeah, a global stage.
Showcasing and driving this change.
It's going to be fascinating to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting to think about the possibilities, but also, we have to acknowledge the challenges.
Right. It's not going to be easy, but the potential is huge.
Yeah. So for everyone listening out there, I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
How might this shift towards instinctive insurance,
Okay.
this idea of understanding and responding to risk in a much deeper and more immediate way,
Yeah.
how might that change how we think about risk management in general?
That's a big question.
And even our own personal sense of security,
Right.
In ways that go beyond the specific examples we've talked about today.
I don't think we have the answers yet, but it's something we need to start thinking about.
Yeah, it's definitely food for thought.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.